Hey guys, this is Strike, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the OpenAI versus 5X Pros game or series, multiple games, and we're going to talk about why exactly the OpenAI won, and basically the three things that led to this, the three things that the OpenAI bots team did, which are unusual. Human players don't often do them, and the point of talking about this is to highlight how you and your pubs, of course it's more difficult, but you can apply these things, and by knowing about them you can at least try to incorporate them a little bit, and it's going to improve your game as well. So these are two main things that we're going to talk about first real quick, and the third big thing is the draft, which we'll spend most of the video on. So that will be last, and that's why I have this open here. Also, make sure to leave a comment. I'm going to be looking at all the comments. It can be a question or a remark or whatever, and the best one, meaning the most interesting, the most thought-provoking question or remark or point that I didn't think about, whichever one that is, whoever made that comment will get a free replay analysis from me, which I'm also going to be posting here. So if you're interested in that, I do coaching for money. I don't recharge for it, so this is something you're basically winning for free. So if you're interested in that, make sure to leave a cool comment. Now, the first thing that bots do really well, which human players don't do as well, especially lower level players, is playing with confidence. Now, it might seem a bit weird to talk about confidence with bots because you assume that they kind of calculate everything instantly and they know the odds of things working out or not working out, so they don't make mistakes, so there's no way for them to not be confident. But it still has a huge impact on your game, and even if you're not a great player, if you're an average player, playing with confidence is still gonna boost your game a lot. It's better to be a little bit cocky. Obviously you don't want to be too cocky, then you're not gonna improve, but a little bit cocky to make moves with confidence. Now, a great example of this that I can give is a Nyx ganking the mid lane with his Impale. Now, in order for the gank to work, the Impale needs to hit, right? And there are four scenarios of how this gank can go. Two scenarios where he throws out the Impale instantly, and two scenarios where he hesitates and waits and cancels animation and chases a bit and then throws out the Impale. So let's start with the hesitation scenario. Imagine, he's hesitating a bit, chasing, the other guy, like his mid, is also going with them. They're diving tower a bit, the enemy mid is running away, canceling animations, choosing the angle, and then throws it out finally after 5 seconds. Still misses. Now, the stun is wasted, you're both out of position under the tower, someone probably TP'd in, and big chance you're gonna die. So, hesitating and missing, worst case scenario, easily. Now, imagine you hesitate, all the stuff, again, animation cancel, but then you do hit it in the end. So, you stun the guy, but again, he was running back while you were canceling animation and stuff. He is under his tower, you're tanking tower, again, you gave time for enemy team to react, for TPs to come in, and even if you hit the stun, even if you do get the kill, it's a lot more likely that you're gonna get punished for it. So it's still not really that great. Now, the two scenarios for not hesitating. Imagine you instantly throw out the Impale and you miss, just a whiff. Alright, feels bad, you don't get the kill, but you didn't dive at all, so there's actually no risk for getting punished. There was no time for enemy team to react, so you're just gonna back off. It's really not that bad. And of course, the best case scenario, you throw it out instantly and you hit instantly. That's obviously great. The guy is probably out of position, you didn't give him a chance to start running, didn't give a chance for enemy team to react by TPing in, try to help him, so you just get a fast and easy kill. And that's obviously the best case scenario and what you should be aiming for, so therefore you should be throwing out that Impale instantly. And the Impale is just an example, but this goes for any spell, any move. Do we go Roche? Do we not go Roche? Do we go high ground? Do we initiate? Do we not initiate? Again, just make the move with confidence. If you fuck up and it turns out to be bad, it sucks, but you're gonna learn for next time. And there's a huge chance that even though the move in theory might not have been great, because you executed fast, because you caught the opponent off guard, it's still gonna work out better than just sitting around hesitating and thinking, oh, do I go in? Do I not go in? That kind of stuff. And that's what the bots by nature do really well. You don't see the bots thinking, you know, oh, do I go for this kill, but then going back, and then like one of them goes in, the other one runs away, then the other one tries to save him, but then the other one is running, and you know, running circles, not really committing to anything, and in the end, just often what happens is you end up feeding. So bots don't do this, and that's a big part of the reason why their game looks so smooth and their teamwork looks amazing. Now, the second kind of unique and unusual thing that the bots do that we can learn from, it's going to be harder to apply in your games because it requires more of a team effort, and it's not really something you can do on your own. But this is recognizing that every hero can have an equal impact in the game, and switching lanes basically throughout the entire laning stage, giving every hero some farm priority for several minutes, and in general not sticking to this very outdated and limiting mindset of I am carry, I am safe lane, I farm, or I am support, I don't farm, or you know, or I am mid, so I stay mid. This kind of thinking is very ingrained into the average Dota player, but it is actually what holds you back from winning a lot of games, because when the average Dota player runs into a bad lane, he doesn't really think, okay, how can we adjust this? And once again, this is not to say that, you know, no one thinks about this, but until all five players, or at least four of them, have a bit of an idea about this, it's not really going to work. Because, you know, as a mid guy, let's say you have a terrible mid matchup, and instead of just going repeatedly to lane and getting destroyed for 10 minutes, it makes a lot more sense to put another hero there, or maybe get some help, or just swap lanes with someone else and just get a better laning setup. And again, this is not really going to work if the other people on your team are not, you know, in agreement. Like if you're a mid Shadow Fiend and you're just getting absolutely rolled, and you tell your off lane Bristle like, yo dude, can you take over mid and just let me try to get some farm on this lane because I'm not getting anything. You know, it will work sometimes, but a lot of time also he's gonna tell you, oh, fuck off, I'm off lane, noob mid, you're feeding, and stuff like that. So from the example of like these bot games, what we saw is that they would, you know, give a support lich a solo lane for a couple levels, let him get ahead, then, you know, a couple minutes later they transition back to being a lane support on a different lane, which he now does really well with the level advantage. They put a different hero on that lane where he was to give that hero some solo XP now. You know, like this Jaro gets levels, starts rotating. Basically, no one is afraid to rotate. They keep switching it up, and this also makes it really hard for the enemy team to play against, because they don't know what the plan is. They don't know who's going to be on this lane 2 minutes from now. And lastly, these lane swaps, they don't happen by both heroes just TPing and, you know, essentially switching places. They happen by running there. So when the Lich leaves his lane and runs to a different lane, for a moment on that different lane there's an extra hero, so it's essentially a gank. There's a kill potential. They're not gonna get the kill every time, but they do this like 10 times, and you know, if 5 out of 10 lane swaps result in a kill, that's a huge boost. And the only reason this happens is because they're not using TPs. They're actually walking to that lane, you know, apply some pressure, try to get a kill. If it doesn't work, then the other guy, you know, TPs to the empty lane, and you know, they switch up their lanes. And you know what, like 3 minutes later, that guy's also going to rotate mid, you know, try something there. Maybe they gather more heroes, maybe they don't. Maybe they get killed, maybe they don't. But you know, these moves, they apply so much pressure, and this is something that just really never happens in anything but, you know, the higher level pubs. Although even there, it's quite rare. And again, if you want to be a good Dota player, just get rid of these notions of, you know, this is my role, this is my lane. All this kind of stuff is just holding you back for no reason. Try to think, okay, what can I actually do? Am I strong now? Am I not strong? Should I be farming? Can I pressure someone? Stuff like that. And now finally, the third thing that the bots did really well, that was probably the biggest reason why they won, is the drafting. Of course, we have a limited hero pool in this series, which we have here is the list, the official OpenAI, and I went ahead and used pictures, because for me at least, seeing pictures of heroes is a lot easier for me to visualize everything and kind of come up with the picks rather than, you know, just looking at the names. So you notice that they're ordered in a certain way here, and it's going to become clear what that order is. Now, when you have a pool of only 18 heroes, and by the way, the bans are random heroes that are not part of this pool, so, you know, obviously otherwise with 12 bans, it's not even enough. There's not even enough heroes left to have 10 picks. So the bans are relevant in this case. There's just these 18 heroes to pick from, and, you know, the two teams choose. Now, what the OpenAI, honestly, they didn't really recognize it entirely themselves, but the Blitz team actually didn't see it at all. Basically, there's a hero here that's not really countered, which is Sniper. Now it's going to become clear why when I also explain why the heroes are ordered like this. So, kind of categorize them here. So first of all, we have Axe and Tide, basically tanky offlaners that, you know, can initiate, but they need a blink to do so. This is another aspect of this series, is that, you know, the bots play very fast. The quote-unquote meta of this match was very fast because of these invulnerable couriers, which supplied constant regen, which allowed you to basically keep snowballing and keep pushing, keep sustaining yourself. So it's kind of like extending the lane stage. We see this in pro games already during the lanes, people ferrying out regen constantly, but it requires, you know, proper courier use, and the fact that you have one courier, 3 lanes makes it a lot more difficult to do this very, very effectively. But the bots, they have 5 couriers, so every single lane is getting regen constantly. So this, not every single lane, every single hero. So that supplies these early pushes, and that means basically the games run a lot faster, and heroes that are very item dependent are therefore weaker, because even heroes that need just one item to function, like most commonly a blink or a shadow blade, like that item is still 2k gold, 3k gold, and by the time you can feasibly farm it, you know, together with some small stuff like boots and wand, the bots have already, you know, been pressuring tier 2s and stuff, so it's a bit late. That's why heroes that don't need any items at all are more valuable, and we can see that also in how the bots prioritize their picks. For example, here they pick up Lich, Gyro. So if you look at all these heroes, Lich and Gyro are 2 that don't really need any items to basically deal a ton of damage, because their spells, I mean, that's just what they do. You know, on top of that, Lich is also kind of a lane dominator. So the reason the heroes are sorted like this is because they're very similar in what they do. We talked about these initiators, and they were both kind of ignored because, again, they need blinks or more items to you know, really start getting effective, which there simply isn't time for with this fast pace. Now, all 5 of these heroes, I listed them together because, okay, back to the Sniper mid heroes, but because they work in a very similar way. So what all 5 of these heroes have in common is that none of them have a hard disable, a hard stun, so like a reliable way to get on top of someone. They'll have some kind of mediocre slows, and they're all mid-range heroes. Mid-range hero means that they're not melee, but they also don't have very long range. They kind of want to be near the enemy, close enough to actually deal their damage, because their spells, especially these 3, have, you know, Plasma Field, Death Pulse, and Requiem. These are all spells that are centered around the hero, so they want to be kind of close to, you know, actually deal damage with that, but they also cannot be too close because they're not melee heroes after all, so they can't really tank that much, even though some of them have spells to help them tank. So what does this mean? The mid-range heroes are effective against tanky melee heroes, because the tanky melee heroes rely on their tankiness to actually get in melee range, and, you know, these guys can just be one step back and they have good spells to deal with them. To illustrate this point, we're going to take a look at Dota buff win rates. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, you know, like Dota buff, it's based on average games, blah blah blah. The game is balanced around pro games, so, you know, Dota buff with majority of its data coming from like the average RMR, which is about 2-3k. It's not a great source, which is true to an extent. Some of these picks don't make sense. A lot of heroes which are more difficult or less played are kind of misrepresented here when it comes to the win rates, but for the most part it does paint a pretty accurate picture, and I'm just going to use this as an example to show you why. So here we're looking at Necrofall's stats, can see Necrophos here. Best versus, and you see a bunch of melee strength heroes that count on their, you know, high HP or forms of regen or damage reduction to stay alive. Why is Necro good against them? Because he outlasts them, and because Heartstopper Aura is just eventually going to kill you no matter how much HP you have. Same with the Reaper Scythe, it doesn't care about your max HP, because as soon as you're below half, it's going to finish you off. And what is Necrophos bad against? Well, here we see a bunch of long-ish range heroes that deal heavy magic and or physical damage. These are basically heroes that, you know, the Necro cannot really get close enough to, and they just pummel him from afar. And because both his Death Pulse, his Aura, and his Reaper Scythe, they all have like a max range of, you know, 600 to 700. He doesn't have a great way of dealing with these heroes. That's the main reason. And notice the Sniper here. Sniper, long range hero. There are a couple heroes like Sniper. You know, probably the closest are Pugna, Zeus, Tinker, this kind of stuff. They all deal crazy damage from a long range. And in this pool though, Sniper is the only hero of this type that's available. Now if we looked at Necros, let's take a look at Death Prophet. Best against, once again, kind of similar, like heroes that want to be fighting close up, heroes that rely on their regen to stay alive, that don't have a lot of burst damage, more importantly. But what is DP weak against? And that's pretty clearly heavy burst damage, including heavy physical damage. So once again, we notice Sniper. DP is really bad against Sniper, again, because she cannot reach the Sniper. Needs a Blink Dagger for that, but you know, DP also needs a Yules, a BKB. That's a lot of items, which again, in this fast-paced games, you're not gonna get. Let's take a look at the next hero. Razor. Are you starting to notice a pattern here? Again, he's good against heroes with no burst. Tide, Wisp, blah blah blah. TA, bad against Sniper because of the range. So I'm not gonna repeat this many times. Oh, there's also Tinker here, another long range hero like I mentioned. But you're starting to see the pattern. Shadow Fiend, Sniper is not listed here because he doesn't have an advantage against Shadow Fiend. It's just not as much as these other heroes. But again, Shadow Fiend doesn't have a great way of getting on top of the Sniper. Once again, to actually do that, he needs a Blink, a BKB. Shadow Fiend does farm these items faster than pretty much anyone else, but Blitz actually went for Shadow Blade because, again, Blink, BKB, that's 6,000 gold. Shadow Blade is just shy of 3,000, so it's gonna be coming out sooner. And you know, the game's usually ended before anyone could really get more than the required net worth to have those items. So bottom line, there are no solid counters to Sniper. The only heroes, you know, what counter Sniper, pretty straightforward. Mass Summons, because he's single target, doesn't deal with them very well. So stuff like Brood and Furion. Let's go back to the Sniper page. We see Furion. We don't actually see the Brood here, but you know, Furion, and then obviously gap closers. You know, Storm. It's pretty straightforward. Classic. Batter, Clock, Pudge, Wisp, Morph. Heroes that just get on top of the Sniper. That's about it. We do see the Slark here, another great hero against Sniper, and there is actually a Slark in the pool. So why did they not pick the Slark then? Well, Slark suffers the issue that he's extremely weak against 5-man, and he does need like Treads, Shadow Blade, a killer before he can really even start doing anything in the game. It's not an early game hero, so that's kind of the reason why Slark doesn't work. And not to mention how the meta in general, but especially the meta in this series, was very heavily based around the lanes. And Slark is a very weak laner. He doesn't offer that much. So if you lose the lane on Slark, you're already going to be behind in items, and then they start 5-manning the towers. It's not going to be affected. Kind of a similar story for Queen of Pain. She relies on having a lot of items and levels before you can actually reach to that point where you're an AoE threat. And in the early game, low level Sonic Wave, the single target dagger before the level 20 talent, is just not enough of a threat to really like jump into 5 heroes. You're gonna nuke them. If they don't die, then you die for sure, and you know, then you're kind of useless because you don't have your ult for 2 minutes 15 seconds. So again, Queen of Pain, not really viable either. So all in all, that leaves Sniper as this uncounterable and basically the best hero in this lineup. The only hero that's kind of okay against it is Gyrocopter. Now the reason I put Gyrocopter between these two, he doesn't have any mobility, just like these guys, but a difference is that his reach is a bit bigger and he actually does have a hard stun. You might be thinking like homing missile, you don't really see it as a catch, right? Because you can just walk away from it, but in a team fight setting, it is a hard stun. It is something that forces you to run away and something you can cast on the Sniper from very, very far away. So yeah, if it were me drafting here, I would really prioritize Sniper as the best pick. I would just first pick him and then Gyro, second best pick. I'll try to get Gyro as soon as possible if I can. And the reasoning really is quite simple. There are no heroes, there are no supports that are good against Sniper in this pool. The only two heroes that are decent, like I mentioned, Queen of Pain, Stark, they're just not very viable overall in this mini meta. And yeah, think about the supports, like what would people respond with if you first pick Sniper now in an actual game. You know, before it was these popular roamers like Clock, Earth Spirit, Dusk, Nyx, they absolutely destroy the Sniper. Now they're all nerfed and not very common, but still the popular supports are pretty good against Sniper. For example, Phoenix, Wyvern, two of the top ones. Phoenix can just dive on top of him. I've heard some people say that Sniper counters Phoenix because he kills the egg from far, but it doesn't really make any sense because Phoenix can be played as a support, and in which case he will always egg on top of the Sniper, which means Sniper is going to be slowed, he's going to have his attack speed slow, he's going to be taking crazy damage, and even if he does kill the egg, he's going to die in the process 100%. And Winter Wyvern, you can just curse him from far away, he can hit him from far away, slow, crazy damage, easy ways to get on top of the Sniper again, enabling the rest of the team. And if you look at these supports, basically no one can really do that. At most, there's a Fisher, but you know, even if you stun the Sniper with a Fisher, where is the follow-up? Who's going to actually jump him afterwards? He can still walk away. You're still walking through shrapnel in the process. Like, all these supports just get absolutely wrecked by Sniper. Really, like, these two heroes should have been prioritized, and these heroes are unique, whereas, you know, all five of these kind of do the same thing, kind of play the same way. So if we look at the first draft, it just doesn't make sense to give the OpenAI both Gyro and Sniper, considering they're the most valuable picks and they kind of counter each other. Another issue is that these supports, Shaker and Crystal Maiden, are enabling supports. They're strong, but they don't actually, you know, get the kills themselves. They don't actually go in and do stuff. Like these heroes, you know, the CM is strong because of the aura, allowing allies to farm, and you know, the disable's kind of setting up for someone else to go in. Same with the Shaker. If you look at Fisher and its stats in terms of how long it stuns for, how much damage it deals, it's not great. But what makes Fisher great is that it has a massive range. So obviously the Fisher comes in from the fog, and then, you know, the core that's actually going in really benefits from it. So the problem is they have these three cores, Necro, Razor, Necro, Razor, Shadow Fiend, and neither of them really utilize the Fisher all that well, because they, without a Blink Dagger, they need to walk in after the Fisher. So they actually spend the Fisher time walking towards the target, and it's not effective. There's no kill. You know, compare that again to a Sniper. It's not a hero that actually goes in, but at least he has long range, so that also combines well with the Fisher. Then neither of the two heroes is committing. You just drop Fisher, that buys enough time for the shrapnel to land in a perfect position, and then the Sniper is just whacking away, can finish off with ult. Synergy is a lot greater than just having these three cores that kind of play the same way. Necro, Razor, Shadow Fiend, they all kind of have to run in. They're all vulnerable to the Sniper, and bottom line, you have five heroes that are actually have zero mobility and no way to get close to the Sniper. So again, it's just bots, but draft wise, this is really one-sided. Lastly, like one other thing I want to mention is pretty nice balance between this lineup in terms of backline, frontline, and the obviously imbalance that I was mentioning. So you have Necro, Razor, Shadow Fiend, they all kind of need to get medium close to the enemies to do their thing. Earthshaker, he needs a Blink Dagger, and then he gets into melee range to, you know, use his spells properly, other than Fisher. And Crystal Maiden is the only one that's kind of a backliner, but also not really, because her ult is also centered around her, and the rest of her spells don't have that much range. Now, if you compare this to the OpenAI team, you have Gyro and DP, which are kind of similar to these cores. They also play medium range. They need to kind of go in. Gyro can get even closer. And then you have three heroes that sit back. Sniper sits far back, Lich sits far back, and Lion also kind of sits back. It just throws out these disables. So they have a much better balance and mix of frontline, backline. And you know, the dire lineup just cannot really deal with this. Now let's take a look at the draft of game 2. Once again, we see the human team really prioritizing this Earthshaker that they first picked the last time as well. Again, I don't really understand why, other than, okay, he's good against 5-man once he gets Blink. But, you know, if they really feel this way, then they should give him higher farm priority so he actually gets that Blink significantly faster. And which they didn't really do, even when he was off lane. Moon actually bought like a bunch of small items, which, you know, it's normal to do that in a regular game. Like, you know, you buy a Soul Ring, you buy upgrade boots and stuff, then you go for the Blink on Shaker. But when you know that the enemies are gonna 5-man so early, then, you know, fuck all that, just go Brown Boots, Blink, maybe a couple of Clarities and Mangoes for mana, but that's it. And again, the Shadow Fiend, who, yeah, he's gonna win the mid lane, but later on he just matches up so badly against all these heroes. Now, they also go for the DP, and we see again OpenAI. They start with the Lich. I guess they favor it the most. Maybe they favor it over Sniper because of the lane dominating aspect. But really, like I mentioned, Sniper is the strongest hero here. But yeah, they end up just getting Sniper Gyro again, and these heroes are just not countered in this pick, in this hero pool. Team Human follows up with the DP core, and I believe the last pick was I believe it was the Ricky this time. So, you know, it makes a lot more sense. Okay, a lot, I won't say a lot, but it makes a bit more sense to, you know, have the Shaker core. They only have 2 cores that are of the same type rather than 3 cores of the same playstyle and same functionality. So these Shaker is a little bit different, but again, they didn't really quite play the Shaker. They didn't give him the same farm priority. They just ran him as an offlane and made sure SF had a good game. But, you know, it doesn't matter if SF has a good game. If they just played around the Shaker, make sure he's stomping his lane and he's free farming, again, he gets a fast Blink and he can actually start solo killing all of these heroes. They didn't really do that. Again, the DP is just kind of useless pick. It just gets wrecked by all this stuff. And this time you see the OpenAI actually adjusting a little bit, whereas in the previous game we mentioned they had 3 backline and 2 frontline heroes. This time they actually have 4 backline heroes and just Gyro that's going to be sitting in front. The humans did adapt a little bit by picking up this Ricky. He does actually have a bit of a jump. I say a bit because the blink strike range is really not that great on the early levels. But it is something, and we saw that they had much better success this game. But again, they ultimately lost. Again, the DP was just a non-factor because the hero cannot do anything. And again, Shadow Fiend didn't even really get to complete his BKB before the game was over, and to really do what he needs to do, which is, you know, get on top of them with the BKB and then drop the spells. All in all, both these heroes are immobile, and they just die to all this long range stuff. You know, you have the Crystal Nova, you have the Shrapnel, you have the Lich Ice Blast, the Frost Blast, I mean the whatever, Chain Frost, Cooldown, so many long range things, so many slows. And if you think about the human lineup, what long range do they have? Well, it's Fissure and DP Carrion Swarm, which is gonna be super low level until late in the game because the DP is super wrecked. Witch Doctor really doesn't have anything long range. Ricky can jump in. That's if he gets to jump in, you know, if he just gets nuked and slowed from a distance. Honestly, like this, you know, these picks, considering this pool, considering the rules of the game, considering, you know, the invulnerable couriers and stuff, just having like these 2 strongest heroes in the 18 hero pool means this should be an easy game. And lastly, we can just take a look real quick at the 3rd game where Twitch chat drafted for the bots. This one is gonna be a lot more obvious, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but just to kind of go over why the bots got destroyed. So this is the first game where actually the humans pick up the Gyro, one of the 2 top heroes which you mentioned. Sniper was completely ignored, for some reason. I guess they didn't want to go sniper because of the first pick Slark. I think it wouldn't have been an issue though, because like I mentioned, Slark he is going to lose the lane, he's going to be behind, he's never really going to become a threat. And as we saw in the game, Slark didn't even have a Shadow Blade for a very long time. He actually held on to the money, but he couldn't afford the Shadow Blade for like 20 minutes or so. And yeah, then we picked this Sven Axe, two heroes that don't really do anything without Blink Daggers, which as we mentioned are very expensive. And this time there's again a DP, which again didn't really do a whole lot. Eventually got items and, you know, started killing people, but that was just because, yeah, like level 1 item advantage. But as a hero, the DP still, you know, lost the lane and didn't really have a great start. The hero that was owning, big surprise, that was Gyro, like I mentioned, very strong in this pool. You know, the Lich and the Lion, two backline supports, they actually played the way the OpenAI played them, which was, you know, rotating a lot, being aggressive. But yeah, lastly, the Necro, he actually, the only reason he worked out this time is because he was matched up against heroes he's actually good against, like we mentioned, good against melee heroes. So that's Sven, that's Slark, that's Axe. Necro kind of wrecks these heroes, and that's pretty much the only reason why this is the only game where Necro actually felt like useful and impactful. So that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree, especially let me know if you disagree with any of the points I made, any arguments I made. I hope you enjoyed it, and also make sure to leave a comment. I'm gonna be looking at all the comments. You know, it can be a question or a remark or whatever, and the best one, meaning the most interesting, the most thought-provoking question or remark or point that I didn't think about, whichever one that is, whoever made that comment will get a free replay analysis from me, which I'm also going to be posting here. So if you're interested in that, you know, I do coaching for money, I don't recharge for it, so this is something you're basically winning for free. So if you're interested in that, make sure to leave a cool comment, and yep, I hope to see you guys for next video. Let me know if there's anything you would like to be changed or something for me to do differently. I haven't been making this type of videos exactly for a very long time, so yeah, I'm open to all feedback. See you guys.